This is the craziest rune in Season 14. I'd even go so far as to say that it's near Keystone level in output, depending on what champion build you're playing. In this video, I'm not going to tell you what's optimal, just what's available to you in the new season with Ingenious Hunter on the table. First, I'll start with spelling. This rune is spelled I-N-G-E-N-I-O-U-S. Basically, in plus genius plus an O before the U. I'm sure most of us can commit that to memory, okay? Next, a hard fact. Ingenious stacks up to 50, which is the equivalent of having 50 ability haste in your items. That translates to exactly 1/3 or 33%. Considering the fact that this is a minor rune, that's an absolutely insane number considering how many synergies it has. Unfortunately, the only thing that's bad about Ingenious is that it doesn't actually benefit marksmen as much as the others, other than like Hexplate, so we're gonna have to deal with their constant whining for yet another season. So let's get into it. We'll start off with a really awesome one. Sundered Sky with a 6-second cooldown per target, coming down to a 4 seconds cooldown per target. The way I'll demonstrate this is through Jarvan's passive. Here at level 9, it's at a solid 5 seconds. Sundered Sky being available is represented appropriately by this Demacian emblem. You'll see that my passive and Sunder proc at the exact same time, but Sunder comes up slightly earlier before the passive comes up. Let's speed through a couple of these that don't really need much explanation. Bladed Rune King 15 to 10. Experimental Hexplate if you have a really low cooldown or you're like an assassin or something and you just get your ultimate down with Axemark, but otherwise it's not really good unless you're like a transform champion or maybe Corki, Gnar. You have to have a really low cooldown. Stridebreaker from 20 down to 13 or so. Note that you can actually cast it while moving again. Sterex Gauge going from a 60 to 40 second cooldown. You probably won't get value out of this unless you proc it at the start of the fight and then like it keeps going or something and 40 seconds later you proc it again. But I really doubt you should play for this. So this one's just a little bit for humor, but Guardian's Angel goes from 5 minutes 300 seconds down to 200 seconds, which is about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Actually, it's not about, it's literally fucking 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Pretty dank actually. Now one of the lowest cooldowns in the game, Eclipse. This goes from a 6 to 4. This is absolutely bonkers considering the base shield that you get from Eclipse. Very big recommend. Speaking of shields, Locket of the Iron Solari not being a mythic makes it super available to anyone. You can just build it whenever. You can be a tank or whatever, you can be a support and you just pop that shit. It's only 60 seconds instead of 90. Pretty good actually. Heartsteel would normally have a 30-second cooldown, goes down to 20 when you're max stacked. Note that if you're in the top lane, you won't get max stacked, so you probably won't get the 20 seconds, but it's pretty good eventually if you like join a fight or something, you get a couple assists, you're probably more incentivized to help the team, which is a good thing. Randuin's Omen with a 55% slow for 2 seconds, which is actually a pretty hefty slow, coming down from a 60 to 40. It's not really the best active, you should never buy Randuin's for the active necessarily, but hey, it's something. Additionally, we have my favorite item, Fimbulwinter, which goes from an 8-second cooldown down to about a 5.6, something like that. So let's just say 6. A lot of shielding, quite often. And you might have noticed this little zappy thing coming out of me like this. This is Unending Despair's passive, and an item with surprisingly good stats and an even better passive. Every 7 seconds in combat with champions, it zaps people around you for damage based on your health. More importantly, you heal 250% of the damage you deal. Now this is obviously post-mitigation damage, otherwise it'd be broken. Even then, it is absolutely bonkers with Ingenious because it brings it down to about a 4.69 cooldown. I'll show you 2 scenarios here. The first one will have everyone at 0 MR while you have quite a bit of health to scale damage, which gets converted into healing. Now the second one will simulate a super disadvantageous situation where all targets have 100 MR and you have only around 2000 health to work with. And I want you to take these 2 scenarios as opposite ends of a range and just interpolate, you know what I mean? That way I don't have to do every single case. So Storm Surge is a pretty broken item that everyone loves and it brings it from a 30-second cooldown down to 20. And this way if both players have Storm Surge, yours will come up earlier. But you don't always have your stacks, so if you're like a mage, like you can just use Xerath ulti or Lux ulti and go somewhere else. Shoot a bitch, get a stack, get an assist hopefully, or if you're like a roaming assassin, whether you're a Kali or maybe Fizz, you can always just go roam and like get a stack somewhere. Hextech Rocket Belt from 40 to, just don't bother with it. This item sucks. Donnie is going from 2 minutes down to a minute 20, actually pretty good, you know what I mean? Like you can reasonably get 2 fights in a minute 20. Now Banshee's Veil and Edge of Night are going to go from 30 to 20 seconds. I'm not going to bother showing this, it was kind of bugged, I couldn't even get Dragon or Baron to spawn. This one's kind of cool. Crypt Bloom goes from 60 to 40 seconds. If you kill someone, you get the whole thing. And then, who knows, like maybe you can make use of this if you're like an AP jungler or something. Here's a pretty cool interaction. You actually get Luden's charges slightly faster with Ingenious Hunter. And now there's some sort of bug where even though if you throw the flag at the same time, Luden's will proc at a different time. But either way, you can clearly see the one on the bottom, the one with 5 stacks, gains the charges slightly faster. So I'm not going to go through literally every single active item or passive or whatever, but I will mention the last thing, trinkets. They actually get affected. It goes from 3 minutes down to about 2 minutes. Really, really effective if you make use of this. So keep that in mind, and I hope I inspired you to use this rune. It's a really broken rune. If you can find some way to use it, do so. Alright, thanks. Hope you enjoyed.